Welcome to Founders Chat. I am Alan, and every week I talk with entrepreneurs about their journey. Today we have TB with us, co-founder of Slashpulse. Welcome, TB.
Thank you, Alan, for the warm welcome. How are you doing?
Thank you. So let's start with an easy question. Tell us what is Slashpulse.
So we at Slashpulse we're trying to digitalize SMEs and we're giving them the possibility of implementing bots for WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, and right now LinkedIn as well. And we are trying to automate this way around 40% of their customer support needs, which means that instead of their clients talking directly to a representative from their side, they are talking to a bot that afterwards, when they realize or the bot realizes that they don't know the answer to the question, it can transfer automatically to a human.
Okay, that's amazing because I was checking your website, and for me it looked like it was only WhatsApp, but maybe that's how you started.
Yes. We are an UAE based startup, started in Sharjah, and WhatsApp, it's used almost in all communication in there. So every business has WhatsApp business, everybody can send messages in there and so on. But right now, we're expanding. We became Meta partners, taking up partners with them. And we are doing some beautiful stuff. For example, in Instagram, you can create your bot, and if you have like a post, for example, that you're doing for your company and be like, okay, this is Alan's amazing product, you can do like an ad and add the bot in there, and the bot can start explaining to your commenters about like your product and such. So it's kind of what Grok is doing in X.
Okay, cool. And just for me to picture this, is this similar to solutions like Intercom, like customer support?
Yes, in a way, yes. But the biggest difference is that uh, we are offering it directly in social media platforms instead of like having to integrate an API and such. And then, like for example, you can do intercom, but you have to have like your agents in your intercom platform and such. For us, so if you have human agents, okay, we're talking again about Ellen's amazing product. You have your WhatsApp directly in there, and the human agent is talking directly in their personal WhatsApp. And this is beautiful because we are opaque for the customer in the sense that the customer knows that they are talking to a human representative, but they don't know the phone number of this representative, so they cannot call them in the night and be like, "Hey, what's up?"
That's nice.
Solve my problem. Yeah.
So basically, imagine I am an agent and I have the corporate account and I
Mhm.
can reply, but also some replies will happen alone because your solution is connected. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. And you can stop. So if you see that the WhatsApp bot is going haywire at some point, you can just stop them and intervene. Kind of what Intercom is doing.
Cool. So, and tell me about yourself. What were you doing before starting this?
So that's interesting. I've worked in. So I started coding when I was super young. My partner and my father. Well, my father is my partner in this company, and he's a developer as well. And yeah, I mean, he gave me a small array of choices. So he was like, "Okay, doctor or programmer." I chose programmer, as most of us do. And yeah, so I started coding when I was 15, continue it in this road. I started a financial startup when I was like 20 with one of the biggest banks from Romania. I'm from Romania, by the way. And we got some funding. So when you are 20 in Romania and you get $10,000, you call that pre-seed. And yeah, I know it's not, but it was enough for us. It was not enough for the startup to take off. Then I started doing a lot of contracting, work for a bunch of companies, started traveling. to Latin America at some point with a crypto startup. Lived it there for a couple of years. And then after all of this ended, I was like, so I was searching for something to do. And at the same moment, it was fun. We were trying to meet some friends of ours. I was with my father and trying to meet some friends in Dubai, and we tried to find a place. So you have property finder in there, which is like the way to find places to rent. And we were trying to talk to the agents, and almost nobody was. So everybody had WhatsApp in there. Almost nobody was responding, because you send a message. It was, I don't really remember this. It was, I think, very early morning, so some like 6 a.m. or something like that. And nobody was responding, like not even saying like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I'm not available." It was just like nothing.
Yeah.
And
I think it's still the case for most customer support.
exactly. And then they responded like, I don't get it, like, I don't know, like 8 hours later, but you already rented 8 hours later. So we were like, okay, there's gonna be a better way to interact with the customers. And this was like 1 year ago. And we thought like, okay, let's see how the API of WhatsApp works. Let's see how the API of Property Finder works, and let's see where we can, when we can do something. So that's pretty much the super short story of how we started with this.
Okay, that's amazing. And you're coming from a technical background then, so you're a software
Yeah,
developer
yeah, yeah, yeah,
without much choice.
yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, fortunately, I mean, that's kind of a joke as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
My parents are super open and such, but we had a discussion in there, and I was like super passionate about chemistry and biology at that point, and they were like, "Mate, you have like your baccalaureate, which is like kind of like SATs," and they were like, "You wanna do maths and physics and also like the Romanian language, literature and chemistry and then biology in there, or do you wanna do just like physics, maths and Romanian language in there?" Like, that's a very appealing point.
no, but
I'm quite, yeah, lazy.
no, but also, I think that it's wise to choose if your parent had success and a good profession. You can learn. You have been seeing this since you were a child, and there are a lot of lessons that you already learned. And there are so many people, they have parents with successful businesses, and they choose to do something completely different because they don't want to follow their path. And I think in most cases it's a mistake, But okay, it's not my case. So I'm a software developer as well. But I see this a lot, and I think it's wise to follow. If something works, why change?
Yeah. I mean, kind of depends a bit. Depends on what depends how you define success in a way,
Yeah.
because if they are, yeah, I mean, even for us as software developers, we get a little bit, stressed and such from, I don't know your case. I mean, we met just like 20 minutes ago, but it's a stressful profession in my opinion.
I would say it's not that bad, but yeah, I can buy that there are professions with less responsibilities, or maybe we need to be
Maybe
creative to innovate, to be good performers.
thing that I would not say bothers me, but one thing that comes to mind about this is the fact that you are taking your issues and your work and all with you at home. So yeah, right? I mean, I'm just, just thinking. I was talking to some people, they are like doctors and such, like dentists, what I wanted to do before. And the idea is that for them, when they are leaving the practice, usually they are like, okay, done, my work is done. I'm going to, I don't know, the gym or something, and that's all.
Yeah, I could say you're also an entrepreneur and you're working in your businesses. I
Mm,
think it's different. I have been in big corporate and also in small startup and my startups, and I
mhm.
think it's different because if you're in a big company, it's big machinery. I don't know. You have on call rotations, so if something breaks, somebody is on call, so you don't need to worry. That's why they do it. Of course, there are sometimes that you need to solve a difficult problem and you can't stop thinking about it. But it's not the rule. Instead, when it's your company, it's 24/7. Yeah, I fully agree.
I actually, this is interesting. I never worked in a quote unquote big company. So we had, even when I work in startups, we had on call and such. But on call, usually the teams that I've worked in were quite spread out. So let's say some people in Europe, some people in Asia, and a lot of people in the Americas. And I don't know why this happened or how this happened, but usually I was like, we were very slim in Europe, like not that many people. So doesn't matter how you organize the rotations. I was, in there a lot of times when things broke in, for
In Google, I was in SRE manager and I was organizing the rotations. And it, it depends on how you organize them, because if somebody is too much on call, then this person is not really that accountable. It's like if you're always on call, you're never on call. It's like, so it's super complicated to organize a proper rotation. So the people shouldn't be on call more than outside work, like 40 hours per week.
I guess so. I mean, 40 hours per week.
Outside the working hours. Yeah, so these 24/7 on call rotations, usually they don't work really well.
Yeah, but 40 hours per week means like 16-hour days. So that's a bit much.
Well, it depends on how you want to organize it. In our case, because we had two different time zones, you were on call 12 hours per day, and eight of
Mm.
those you were at the office, you know?
Okay, okay, makes sense. I mean, yeah, but again, we are talking about a company that has like 80 people in total versus Google that has like hundreds of, I don't know, like tens of thousands, I guess.
180,
80,000?
180.
180. Okay, like, yeah, tens of thousands. It's a good
Yeah,
approximation.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, for us, the ones that come to mind about on call, so the only ones that I did on call on were the crypto startups that I worked in. We were like, I think at most 120 people, and I'm including as well the people from customer support and all of those. So I think developers we were like 15 at most, with two of us being in Europe.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Uh, yeah, it's really hard to build a proper one with 15 people anyway.
yeah,
Uh,
I mean it's fun. It made me into what I am today about, and this helped me a lot in building my startups and my companies in the sense that so that's an interesting thing. I mean, I think all of us that do those companies are kind of workaholics in the sense that, it's funny because you don't really do it for the money to start, I mean, at some point you do it for the money, but to start, I don't think that you do
no,
for that.
no, no, no.
You do it for, in my opinion, you do it for trying to get an idea out of your head, let's say. And yeah, I mean, to continue with that, usually it takes a lot of, determination and such, and um being used to hard work from startups helps.
It's mandatory. I fully agree. Like discipline, hard work, I think they are mandatory.
Yeah.
All right. So, is there something about your early story that people don't know?
About my story?
Your early story, something that people don't know.
My early story. Interesting. It caught me off guard. Yeah, I started traveling when I was young. That's fun. I started, I think that's like, that's interesting. Like I started traveling when I was like 16 or something, like traveling alone. And this kind of helped me a lot to become like, I'm consider myself to be quite an extrovert, which is a bit weird in our domain. But yeah, I think this helps with like interactions that I have right now in conferences and such, just going to people and pitching and being like, hey, let me show you an amazing thing. And yeah, I think that helps a bit.
So, yeah, you're a technical guy. You mentioned that you're doing this with your father, which is technical as well. Do you have other
Mhm.
co-founders?
No, we are the only two co-founders. We get some help from like people that are outside of our domain, but we co-founded this. It's funny because I am like, I have like experience just in technical domains, but my father is like more in the, he's like a lot of things. He did a lot of things in his life, way more than I had the chance to do. And I think that helps us a lot because he has all those experiences. He has like a PhD in economics as well. And yeah, this makes us, quite at least we know when to ask the right people.
That's amazing. And now, do you have people working, employees, or it's just the two of you?
So we have two contractors, but about this, we are still trying to get to a point in which we want to hire more people. So we want some permanent employees as well. But this is always, you think about the revenue that is coming into your company. We're bootstrapped, by the way, and we want to remain bootstrapped. And we're thinking both of in terms of the revenue that comes in and in terms of the projects that we envision that we can develop in the future. So the base platform that we have right now, it's pretty stable. So okay, we have some bugs from time to time as everybody, but we are quite in a good moment in like we can say like okay, this is like good enough for us and we can with our small team we can support it. But yeah, we're thinking of some projects to improve on the way that we want to degrade as much as possible from the customer support needs of some people. And right now, I believe from a technical perspective, we are pretty good. We need a lot more people from, marketing as such, but we are trying. It's super hard, in my opinion, to understand which type of person you need because our business is quite niche. So, in big corporations, I mean, for example, if you were to do something that would you could sell to, I don't know, like super big, let's say Google, for example, you can sell like a piece of code to them. You can hire somebody that worked there in like a managerial position and be like, okay,
Yeah,
give me the contacts that you have. And then based on that, you can create some partnerships. But when you're targeting a lot of like smaller startups and like smaller companies in general, you want to address such a big array of people that is hard to actually like find somebody that can talk to them directly
yeah,
because you can it's super hard the marketing part in my
yeah,
opinion, the sales in general in here because you cannot hire somebody that does like Facebook marketing and so on because maybe the business owners are not there. So
yeah. It's really complicated. In Nexthook, we were doing. By the way, I'm shutting down Nexthook because we didn't manage to get enough traction, and it was a model that only worked with venture capital money. Next thing, I will bootstrap, and it will be more B2B. But yeah, my point here is we were targeting solopreneurs, which is the smallest unit of a business that you can find, and it was really hard because it has the challenges of B2C and B2B at the same time, because when it's B2C, you can automate the sale because individuals are used to buy, they don't expect a call from a sales representative, and something customized. When it's a business, usually you expect like a more customized sales process, customization and stuff. But when it's one single person business, or in your case, a small business, it's complicated because they expect this personal customization, but then the ticket is not in thousands, so it's really hard to find the balance there. So we can discuss about that because I have used some tools to automate the outreach and
nice. I mean, it's good that you say that their ticket is not that big as well. That's a big thing. I mean, you are doing, I don't know, like let's say you're trying to sell for like 24 hours to somebody, and then at the end they're like, okay, maybe I'm going to try it for a week or something. You're
yeah.
like, okay, that's Yeah, it's very hard. I'm doing a lot of sales right now for this, and yeah, it's quite hard to do them. I would like to have somebody helping, but again, so I'm getting a lot of people reaching out on LinkedIn and such and saying like, okay, I'm going to help you sell and such. But I feel that everybody's trying to get money up front and be like, okay, give me like $10,000 and I'm going to sell for you. And I'm like, okay, that's yeah.
It's really complicated. What I would say, even if you don't like it, because I don't like it either. But
Hmm.
if you hire somebody, you will need to pay that person, and if you want somebody good, you will need to pay that person a lot. And then this person is going to ask for a lot of money for tools, and then for advertising money. Like in the different channels. I don't know, LinkedIn, Meta, Google, whatever is the channel.
Hmm.
So I think it's better if you do it yourself at the beginning, because
Yeah.
the most important is the narrative, the hooks, some things that you know better than anyone, what works and what doesn't. Because this comes from speaking with real customers, and then you industrialize it.
Yeah. And also, I feel that, a lot of, in my opinion, sales should be a domain in which you get money based on the performance. I mean, I'm very good at gauging how good a developer is. I'm not very good at gauging how good a salesperson is.
The thing is, the good ones, they can afford charging upfront. So, you know, that's a problem.
Yeah. 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 It's very hard to find them, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's my experience, and everybody wants to do sales for you right now. I don't know about your experience, but I have my inbox full of people just trying to sell for me and being like, oh my god, I'm going
Yeah.
to be the best salesperson that you've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, let's move forward. I have a question for you. It's a personal one. How does a regular day looks like for you?
So that's good. I don't really have regular days for the last month or so. Like I'm trying to get a little bit of a workout in. I'm doing a triathlon and Ironman in May, so I'm trying to get myself out of to eat a frog in the morning, how they say, and do the workout, and then I start working and I see like what the issues of the customers are. I try to create bugs for them, and then I look into the if there is something to review in GitHub. There are things to review. I'm just going through them. I'm reading through them. It's already like 3 p.m. or something. Trying to finish up reading. Then I start coding for a bit. I have like some downtime for coding, and this gets me until like 7 to 8 p.m. This is a day in which I don't have calls, which I
Which you don't have.
we yeah, we are trying to say to people that we don't want calls, and we're trying to keep like the communication async usually, but this happens just from time to time, let's say that. And then yeah, and then I try to sleep until 12. So that's my goal usually, to try to get to bed until 12 p.m., but it usually never happens. If I have an event or something, I'm going out as well. It helps a lot that I gave up alcohol. The mornings after are better, but yeah, it's getting pretty hard.
Okay, I want to ask you a question about, because you mentioned you are preparing an Ironman. Is
Hmm.
this the full one, the 140
No,
miles? No. Okay.
no,
Okay.
70.3. Did you do one or
I am preparing one now. I started now.
which one?
I haven't registered, but
Ah,
I started preparing because I was running marathons, so I'm a runner. But now I started with the swim, and I got the static bike. You know the Swift, right?
uh huh, uh huh,
The
uh huh.
one that you can connect online.
Yeah,
Actually, I'm receiving this later today.
oh, big day. Okay.
So yeah, I was asking. So, but it's a half Ironman. It's a big challenge as well, because you mentioned something like, yeah, I'm working out a little bit for an Ironman. It
I
drop.
mean, it's not. I'm pretty good at swimming and pretty okay. Let's say at running. I'm not good at running by any stretch. I mean, I'm running like 6:30, 6:24 half marathon,
Okay.
which is not the best time, not the worst time. I would say
Yeah.
I'm running like 5:20 10K.
Okay. That
So yeah, that's okay. I mean, I can improve from there. I'm going to target around 5:20,
cool.
5:20 per kilometer um
I,
for the yeah.
I think this is super important. I mean, for us, for entrepreneurs, to have some goals and be consistent in sports.
Yeah.
For me at least, it balances a lot the stress.
Yeah. Yeah, it helps.
When you're running, when you're swimming, when you're biking, I think you forget you can't be thinking about the business all the time. Way of meditation, I don't know, but a way of disconnecting from the stress.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the same. I mean, I started running in June this year, and it's a good one. I mean, it's very fun because I was not, so I always liked sports, but I was not the most athletic in college and such. I am quite unsure if we had an athletics team, to be honest. And I started with like super poor running technique, and it was just like I improved by having like my leg hurt, my shoulder hurt, and so on. And I was like, okay, let me like search in ChatGPT how I should run and such. Yeah, it was like super ad hoc.
But
Few.
yeah, there is this thing because people say running is you can get injured, your knees.
Yeah.
I remember when I started running like 3 years ago at
Uh-huh.
the beginning, maybe I was running 10K and I was having pains everywhere. I had problems with my knees. And then after 3 years running a lot, I ran 3 marathons and I ran a half marathon every weekend, like to do a long run.
Yeah.
Now my knees and everything, nothing hurts. I can run a full marathon and it's okay. I think people underestimate how the body adapts. So
Yeah.
you get much stronger. And then it's not only the legs and the joints, it's the energy. Like after a while, if you're doing it consistently now, you probably have more energy than before. And because it's progressive, like it doesn't happen from one day to another, you don't realize until you stop. When you stop doing sports, because it happened to me. If I'm super stressed and I stop for 3 weeks, then oh
Mhm.
my god, I feel bad, super tired all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get that as well. And also, yeah, I think your stress goes up as well. It's a positive reaction loop in the sense that you stop because you are stressed, and then you get more stressed because you stop. Yeah, uh yeah, exactly.
I think it's a vicious circle. Like it's like you don't do sports, you get more stressed, you sleep worse because you are stressed, and then you're tired and you don't want to do sports. So it's a vicious circle, yeah.
I'm doing my half Ironman in May, so if you wanna join, like we can
Where are you doing it?
in Nottingham in England.
Okay, maybe. Let's talk later.
I mean, we can talk about it. I'm pretty good at the swim and at the run, but I did not buy a bike yet. But I guess everybody says that it's right riding a bike. So
Same situation for me. That's why I got the Swift.
yeah,
Because, in Ireland, it's raining all the time. Actually, today is sunny, but it's usually not. So that's why the static bike.
nah, that's good. What I was thinking is that what I want to do is that you can take like some rollers that you can put under your bike, and then you connect your bike to like some computer, and then you connect it
Yeah.
to your laptop.
This is another option. Actually, they are called trainers. So basically, you take the rear wheel and you connect to the trainer. The trainer is this one, Wasu, I think it's called.
Hmm.
So the Swift bike comes with this. So it's the two things. And the good thing about the Swift is that you have like a remote in
In the
there
front.
in the front, and you can control some things. I don't know. I'm going to try it later today and let you know.
If you like it, I am unsure if I should buy that or just buy the bike that I'm going to go in the Ironman with.
It's recommended to have, if you want a bike, a real bike with a trainer, it's recommended to have two bikes because otherwise you will need to mount and unmount every time you want to use your bike.
At the same time, I'm thinking that usually I'm doing like my swim and my bike, I'm doing them inside like a gym. And I'm thinking if I don't know if I need like, about the weather, it's pretty weird in my opinion right now everywhere because you don't really like a couple, I don't know, like 10 years ago, you can say like, okay, in this season it's not raining that much. And in that season it's a lot of snow or something. But right now it's like you don't really know if
Yeah.
it's going to be a rainy season or not. So
You
yeah.
know, in my personal situation, I really hate the bike. It's the thing I don't like.
Mhm.
In the gym, for me, it's like torture because times go super slow. That's why I bought the Swift, because it's a bit gamified. You connect online and this thing measures your speed. If you have a hill, it measures everything. And it's a bit like a game. You can race against other people. If you have friends, you can go together.
Mm.
So that's why I did it, but I haven't tried it yet.
You might get, after this podcast, you might get some endorsement for them. I'm just saying. But I'm going to think about it. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I truly don't know right now. I just like that. I think in the next couple of weeks I'm going to get, let's say, focused on this enough so I can take a decision. But right now, yeah, unfortunately, I'm still thinking about, if I really need a bike or not. So let me think a lot more of it in the next couple of weeks. I give you
Yeah,
a message and ask
cool.
you about like the
Yeah,
details.
let's talk. I might join in Nottingham because I'm super close.
That would be super nice. Come on. How crazy would that be? That would be a crazy story. Like, how did you meet, guys? Oh, we were in a podcast for a cold message on LinkedIn. Oh my God, let's go.
This is one of the good ones, one of the good stories.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, let's continue because I have questions for you.
Yeah, no
So
worries.
I want to jump a little bit into the tech. So can you tell me how did you build it at the beginning? Did you use no code tools, vibe coding, or you build it properly from start?
I mean, I think everybody's using Copilot right now. So I don't consider Copilot to be a vibe code tool anymore. It's just like a, easy helper for you in there so that you don't have to read that much documentation. But so we coded it from scratch, like using Nest.js on the backend. And for the platform, we are using React and we are using Shadcn, which is like it's super beautiful. So they are doing something in Shadcn. They take like headless components in the sense that there is like a Radix UI, which is another library that does headless components in the sense that they offer you just the capabilities of the components. For example, for the calendar, you have like a lot of functions that you need to implement. For example, like choose today's date and so on. And like transformers and such, but they don't offer you the visuals.
Yeah.
And Shadcn, it's something that offers you some visuals that you can change the theme of with Tailwind and such. So it's super malleable in the sense that you can take their theme or like adjust the theme and such super easily.
When you
And
say
yeah,
headless, it's like something like playwright, like you can do actions in the browser.
no. So that's their definition, but it's weird to think of it in the sense that, because they are not offering the way that the UI actually looks, they're calling it like headless.
Oh, right. Okay.
I think it's headless. It might be my sleep deprived brain just talking, but I think they say either headless or like yeah. No, I think it might I might come back to that.
Okay. No, but
Eh,
I got it. I got it.
yeah, and they are so yeah. We use that, and we are pretty fast coders usually. So I think at least for me, I've done a little bit of vibe coding for some workshops that I did, but for me now it takes me more time to actually understand what the like vibe coding tool spits out instead of
Yeah.
just writing it my own.
Same happens to me. I was trying to do some automations,
Mm.
like using tools like Anything and stuff. And I ended up using, LangChain, this framework that
Yeah.
you can call different models, and Playwright, to scrub the browser. So if you know how to code, and now with Cursor, or I'm using actually ChatGPT, I connect
Mhm.
to JetBrains, and it's pretty nice. You can go much faster. So I agree.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And the infra, do you have the infra in Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud?
Amazon Web Services, we are doing all our infrastructure in there. And yeah, for the LM, we have like some Python servers in there we are using some LangChain as well. It's interesting because we are offering like, our bots have like, let's say, personalities in the sense that they have like some jobs that they can do. And it's one of them, it's hotel clerk, one of them, it's like secretary, one of them is customer support and such. And for some of them, because of those jobs that they have, we're doing like some more complex like SMLs on top of like the understanding part. So at the end, after it gathers all the information about your company and what they have to do and such, they go to like a large language model that you can choose. So be that Gemini or OpenAI or whatever, we're integrating just with OpenAI and Gemini, but we are thinking of integrating more. So you can choose your own in there. But yeah, first we are getting through like different levels, different layers of small language models or of like querying about your company and such, so that the information that the LLM gets at the end is the correct one.
Cool. And because how do you do when you have, for example, a super long conversation? It doesn't fit in the context. You have your own layer that you're summarizing.
For that, we are doing summarizations from time to time, so they are like some checkpoints. Let's say we are talking here for the last 15 minutes or such. We have like checkpoints every 10 minutes
Cool.
usually. Yeah. And from those checkpoints, we are again analyzing through them to understand like if the current message is related to something that was like already summarized.
And then you expand.
Yeah, it's kind of a binary search of context in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
It's crazy because now, but this is more like a philosophical question. Let me know what you
Hmm.
think. But most of the AI companies, if you remove the fundamental AI, like the 4 or 5 big ones that we all know, then everybody else, they are great at searching and summarizing past information to prompt it properly, right? With the context. So it's the search, is super important, but the pre-processing of the prompting. But like in a few years from now, I think we're going to have unlimited context. It's not going to be a problem anymore. I mean, maybe 10 years from now, but then all this competitive advantage will disappear. So
I
my reflection is, in the super long term, are these fundamental AI companies going to be the only ones that stay? Not in your case, because you will own not own, but you will have the relationship with the customers. So you might be able to resell something or put a thin layer, but the complex layers will end up disappearing, I think.
It's interesting, and let's dive into this discussion. Like by the way, let's talk about my history with AI. So I started AI like super early with like the Stanford courses from Andrew Ng and such, and Coursera courses like a bunch of years ago. My father started doing them. I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. Let's do that. And I did it in my college as well. And my dissertation was on AI, but it was like before these large language models were this popular. And we're talking like 2016, 2020. And it was like the AI winter. they said, in which nothing got built in AI, nobody did anything. And in my opinion, we are thinking of the large language models as linear growth, but all growth is logarithm. So we are just thinking like, okay, if it can do this in 2 years, then it means that in 10 years, 20 years, and so on, is going to replace us all. I am very skeptical in there. Maybe in 10 years, people are going to clip this and be like, hey,
Yeah,
this guy did not believe in us. But this is what I think, that in the
yeah.
current market, yeah.
I think it's usually we tend to overestimate in the short term, but at the same time underestimate in the long term. So I agree with you. Maybe in 5 or 10 years, it wouldn't be like that crazy, but in 20 years, maybe there are robots, 100% disconnected from the internet with a little chip. We will see. It's hard to predict 20 years.
I mean, it's the same with the transistors, right? I mean, they said like with Moore's law, and they said initially like, oh my God, we were talking about in 90s, and they say like, oh no, we're going to have like X amount of transistors in like the tip of your hand and so on. But right now they have like quantic interactions, when they're trying to do them like smaller and smaller and smaller,
Yeah.
they have like quantic interactions between the transistors and they cannot work anymore. So maybe I don't know, like I'm just like, talking out of my ass, let's say. But it's maybe we can say that maybe there is like something that we don't know of right now that is going to make this development even harder.
Yeah, yeah. There are always like the more advanced, the more we get to the fundamental limits, like the physics limits. So let's see.
In a way, I was talking like the other day with somebody about this. Like, think of self driving cars. The technology is here for the last 15 years, I think. But in Europe, it's not getting in. And I think one of the reasons is okay, besides the regulation, that everything is harder to innovate in Europe because everybody has like a lot of rules. But the situations and the roads in Europe are different as well. So, you go to California, you have like one single road that goes like for 100 kilometers.
Yeah,
Yeah. So in there, the things are easier to code. Whereas, if you have like 100,000 people on the streets and then you have like somebody that is watering the plants and somebody that is feeding the cats and so on, maybe it's harder.
yeah, and there is also, this. There are these studies about adoption, and usually when you have a tool that is not super useful, the adoption is super little. Like for example, AI has been here for the last 15 years, but 15 years ago it was so dumb. It was like improved calculator. Like you couldn't do a lot of things. Maybe for grammar checks, misspellings and stuff. But then it kept improving. The usually is not mass adopted until you have a high level of quality. I think now we passed this level. Everybody's using ChatGPT, and with the self-driving cars, is the same. Even imagine, I don't know, the self-driving car decisions are 99.9%. Okay, it's not enough, because you will have accidents. So it has to be almost perfect. So we're getting there. And I think the regulations, I think it's aligned because when somebody can prove, and they are trying to prove this, but when they can prove that self-driving cars are safer than people driving, there are some studies, but it's not a consensus. But when they can actually prove that, I think mass adoption is going to go super fast. So it's hard to tell, but I think there is this into the game as well.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think that what we are seeing right now with GPT is like similar to what we saw with AI, like visual AI, let's say, a couple of years ago, in the sense that, like recognizing things from photos, which was like it was nice. I mean, everybody was like, "Oh my god, what is this?" Even Silicon Valley did that, like hot dog, not hot dog.
Yeah,
The joke. What I'm saying is that, yeah, I cannot say I'm not believer in this, but you know, it's interesting how a lot of people right now think that programmers are going to become obsolete, and maybe it's going to happen in 20 years. I don't know.
yeah. Let's see. I think the future is exciting.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, even if it's not, we are going to work in the silicium mines. So maybe we have a good song to sing in there. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So let me ask you another personal question. How do you define success? What is success for you?
I used to think of success in terms of money. It's easier to define like that, but when you get to an amount, like monthly recurring revenue or the money in your account, it gets super depressing. So that's why I'm just going by people that I help because it's more rewarding like that.
Okay, cool. And if a younger version of yourself, let's say 6 years ago, comes to
Mhm.
you and you can give an advice, what would that advice be?
Don't sell your crypto when you want to sell them. Sell and buy Bitcoin. No, besides that, yeah, like wait 3 more hours and sell that. But besides that, I think this is what I'm trying to work a lot right now on, that I am extremely stressed from this workaholic being kind of way. And yeah, it's degrading a lot of parts of my life. I mean, like my sleep and health in general. So I guess, yeah, that would be a good one.
I've been having a lot of these reflections recently, now I'm shutting down my startup. So you can imagine how stressful the situation is. And my reflection was about success. What is success in life, right?
Hmm.
And I think, yeah, helping people is number one for entrepreneurs. That's why we do it. But then at the personal level, I think for me, success is being healthy, having a healthy family, and then being wealthy. But I mean, all these three layers are different for everybody. And I think I realized that being wealthy doesn't mean being rich. When we're younger, I think we tend to think, yeah, I want to have a red Ferrari, right? But over time, I think the balance of these three things are super important. And I think if you push for the Ferrari, I mean, if you work super hard, it's easy to leave aside health and family, And at some point, I think not everybody, maybe some people are able to get everything. But in my case, I arrived to a point that I kind of need to choose. Like you can't be training a lot and working a lot and taking care of the people you love at the same time. I mean, you can, it's really hard.
I mean, in my opinion, I don't know, like for me, I like money, like everybody likes money, I mean, even if you try to get how much philosophical you want about startups and such, you still like money, because you are doing it, you are never just offering them like for free.
Yeah. But money is freedom, like,
Yeah, exactly. I'm thinking that, the red Ferrari gets boring at some point. Like, somebody's going to scratch it. Yeah, it's funnier to, I don't know. I like a lot the freedom to travel, to learn the culture of different people, to, yeah, speak their
yeah,
language. Yeah, I think that's more important to me than like material possessions, at least for now. So,
yeah,
yeah.
I think, well, and I have spoken with a lot of founders. I
Hmm.
think the freedom to be able to do what you like to do, like if you want to work on specific project, you can do it because you don't rely in an income from an employer and you need to work there. And this is the kind of wealth and freedom that many people are after, especially the older you get, when we're younger, I think we have this idea of, yeah, to be successful, I need sports car, which they are great, but I think they are a consequence of hard work. and a lot of other things. It shouldn't be the primary goal, But if it is and it
Yeah.
works for somebody, that's amazing.
I mean, it's interesting because for me it gets very depressing when I don't work. So it's kind of weird, like I am so used to working that I'm getting like, so depressing in the sense that I'm watching like Netflix 24/7 and so on. And the next day I don't want to go out of bed. And right now I'm talking in this podcast with 3 hours sleep. So, I truly feel that I have way more energy when I have something that passionates me that I work towards. And yeah, I guess that's like the level of, let's say, freedom that works gives me in the sense that I have, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even if I do have enough money right now to live comfortably, I don't know, like let's say 10 years or more, I would get super depressed.
Yeah.
Like extremely. Like just yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think at some point, and I could love to get there, like you don't need to work anymore for life, like you get to a point that this little percentage of passive income is enough, to live. I think there is where you need to find the real purpose. And for founders, for most founders, is making a positive impact and helping people.
Exactly.
I think somebody told me this, and I agree. I think we are built to serve, to be useful to others,
Mhm.
but sometimes most people don't never get to that point, because to have this reflection and to really choose, you need to don't need the money, to don't rely on the income. And this is really hard, the well-known financial freedom that is really hard to achieve.
Yeah, and also it's harder if you have investments as well, and you have people that put money in your company and they're asking like for quarterly reports and so on, and you're like, yeah, but I'm making enough revenue to sustain myself. So for you, the goal was achieved already. So then you start working for other people, and yeah, it gets pretty weird.
All right, so to finish, maybe, well, if you want to say something, now is the time. And I was going to ask you if you want to send a message to your customers, or future customers.
My future customers. Uh yeah. Give us feedback. I think it's the biggest thing, because a lot of people, at least, we are very customer centric right now because like small companies, that's interesting, because we talked about in the beginning about the way that small companies work and the way that you are selling to them and so on. And usually what people do is that they get you into their platform and then they send you a message once every, I don't know, like month or so, and say like, how are things going, do you want to, from a scale from 1 to 10 and so on. But we keep our channels open, and we have like everybody that it's our customer has our personal WhatsApp information, and they can just like send us messages in there and be like, mates, uh tell me if you can do this. And that's, I think that's something with engineering in general, because people are usually afraid to ask for some things, and they are asking them for, they are like, oh my god, I'm not going to ask him to do this button, to, I don't know, to implement this chatbot that talks to the other customer support, and then they chooses the number pad to cancel my subscription to groceries, or I don't know. And that might be something super easy for us to build, but changing the color of the of a button might be like super complex. So that's why we want to take like feedback from all over, and we are going to sift through it and understand what we can actually do.
Okay, yeah. So customers, please provide feedback.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah,
All the best, and we might see each other in Nottingham.
yeah, I mean, let's do it. Come on, mate. That would be amazing. Just think of it, be like, by the way, I brought the ticket already because it was like out of a whim. A friend of mine was like, I'm going to do this triathlon. Do you want to come? And I was like, mate, I started running like 3 months ago. Are you sure I can do that? And he was like, come on, don't be a little one. And I was like, okay, let me do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, mates.